Okay. You get to do something that I don't get to do, but you might have an actual account. I just have a basic, I have a free account, so it records to my computer.
Okay.
So since it's recorded to your cloud, if you just send it, email it to Carter.
Oh, that'd be great. Okay, that'd be great. Okay, I'm Professor Worgerles, like they said. I actually have a better link if you want to go to professorworgerles.com. My last name's hard to spell, but we can get through it together. If you type WERGELES, professorworgerles.com, I have just some definitions that we'll go over and the links that we're also supposed to download. So we're going to be coding in brackets today. If you're on the school's computer, it should have it. If you're on your own machine, you can always download it. Those links are on that site. So if I scroll down just a little bit, you'll see links to the starter code and links to brackets. So you'll see a carousel here as it's going. We're going to look at some introductory stuff. So some of the first stuff you'll want to know is what HTML is. HTML is a markup language. HTML stands for hypertext markup language. And it's basically code in markup. They also have one called Markdown. This one's markup. That will structure their content. So I put the content that the user wants to see in HTML. We'll also be taking a look at CSS. CSS is cascading style sheet, and that's how we're going to style our web pages, make it look pretty. The last one is JavaScript. It's basically a scripting language where I can program some functionality for the web. Okay, so those are some basic definitions. We'll go ahead and code in those. So if you open up that starter code, okay, here's a link. Tell me if that link doesn't work for the starter code. And when it gets onto your machine, you can double click it to unzip it. After you've unzipped it, you can actually right-click on that folder, maybe. No. So maybe open up brackets. You can do a control space bar. Control space, open up Spotlight, and see if you have brackets installed. So you can start typing brackets. Command space. Do a command space and see if you can open up brackets there. Okay, so I'm in brackets, so you do a command space bar, type in brackets, open up brackets. What's nice about brackets is they have what's called a live preview. So while I'm coding, I can actually see it, what it's going to look like in the browser. So here in brackets, when I click on File, you can actually open up a folder. You can open up a complete folder. So I'll open up that folder, and then just click on the entire starter code. I can actually click on the root directory there, starter code, and open up all of them at the same time. Okay, we're going to be in that first directory. It's called, what's that called? My first page. Open up first page and open up index. I'm not going to see anything yet because we don't have anything coded. When I'm doing web development, the first thing you start out with is what's called the 5 required tags. Okay, we use the 5 required tags. And when I say they're required, you don't have to put them in there for the page to work. But if you want that page to validate and be a true HTML page, you need these 5 required tags. So the first one is what's called a doc type. And what I'm writing here is actually an HTML5 doc type. It basically tells the browser, okay, this is the style of code it's going to read. So it helps the browser render this page. And then you need your HTML tag. And inside of that, you need your head. Inside of that, you need your title. And then, of course, your body. Those are the 5. So usually when I'm developing a page, I will kind of have this template stored. I'll always start out with this, and then I start filling my content in. Remember the 5 are doc type, HTML, head, title, and then body. The head, it sounds funny, but that's where you're going to put all your attributes. So if I want to put who the author is, what the text type is going to be. So it's kind of like my information. So one of them is the title, and the title needs to be filled in. So we can put this, my first page. And at this point, you should be able to start seeing something on your web page. So what's nice about brackets is the live preview. And if I click on this thunderbolt up here on the top, you're going to see it open up a browser. Hopefully it's Chrome. And you'll actually see that title tag up at the top. It's in the tab there. Okay, you'll see up at the top of the tab it says my first page. That's going to be the title. And we can start writing some HTML. So HTML always goes in the body. When I want to show something on the web page, it must be in the body. Now what's nice about web development is it's so flexible. If I put content in the head, it's going to show up. But that's not the proper place to put it. So the proper place is in the body. So we'll start out simple. Okay, we don't know too much about, let's say we don't know too much about HTML and what that is. They have a tag called an H1. And you'll see brackets is auto-completing for me. So as soon as I type an H1, it puts the start tag for me and also the close tag. And the content is everything in the middle. So here I can put hello world. And you'll see as you're typing, it's showing up on the web page. Other text editors have this functionality, but Brackets has it pre-installed. So as soon as you download Brackets, you can already see this live preview. H1 stands for header, and 1 is the largest, so it's the first degree. You can think of it as the highest priority. So on the page, it's going to show up as the largest text. Headers go all the way down to 6, I believe. So let's say I do an H3. You'll see it's a little bit smaller, but it's also bold. So all the headers are bold, and based off of H1 to H6 is different size of text. They also have paragraph tags. So you're going to see a lot of paragraph tags. This is just your common text. So I can say, okay, hello world, my name is, and you can put your own name there. My name is Professor Wergeles. Okay, I'm typing in my text. And maybe you list some hobbies. Okay, maybe you list some hobbies. So let's say I want to group my hobbies together. I can put them in a div. Yeah, if I want to put them, I want to group them together, I can put them in a div. A div is pretty much a box. I always say a div is a box. I want to put these components into my box so I can group them together. So that's where a div comes in. And maybe you put your own hobbies there. So maybe my first hobby, I like to code. I also like to play the drums. And I like to help others learn how to code. So you see I like to code a lot. Okay. On the weekends, I like to sleep. So on the weekends, I like to sleep in. Then you'll see that showing up on the page. Now I grouped them together in that div, but it's not showing up because we don't have any style there. So we got to a point where we know what the 5 required tags are. We've seen a start tag, we've seen a close tag, but we're just using the default styles. So now we can actually put some style on our page. So that's where CSS comes in. We saw the definition of CSS, but where do we put that on our page? So I actually have what's called a style tag. So up in the head, I'll put my style tag, and in the style tags they have what's called selectors. Okay, because it's called cascading style sheet, and it uses selectors to pick which HTML elements you want to add that style to. So one of the most common ones, let's say I just want to pick all the paragraph tags. So I could put a P there for paragraph tags, put a bracket, okay, start and close bracket, and now I can actually start typing my CSS. Let's say for paragraph tags, one of my favorite font families is Comic Sans. Okay, so I'll put Comic Sans, and you'll see it show up. Okay, you'll see it show up over there on the right. But you'll notice when my font family has spaces, I need to put them in quotes. If I don't put it in quotes, it won't turn orange. It'll be black, and brackets will say, I don't recognize that. For the font family, usually you have what's called a fallback system. So if this first font won't load, I can put a comma-separated list and put one that I know is going to load. Okay, so one of them like is sans serif there. That's one that all browsers are capable of handling. And we put that there as a backup system. So if Comic Sans won't load, sans serif will load in replace of it. So it's a comma-separated list, and it's ordered, loaded sequentially. This is really sensitive. Can you hear me over there in the corner? Okay. And I'll go up a little higher. So I talked about that group. So we have a div there, and we want to group that code together, but you can't see it. Okay, so those are hobbies. I can select all paragraph tags, or they have something called a class. So maybe I want to select everything that has this class. So we can make a hobbies class, and let's say for the hobbies I change the background color to black. But now I'm not going to see my text, so I need to change the text color to white. Okay, you'll see nothing's changing there. So I put a selector there, but the browser is not able to select anything on the page because I never linked the two. The first one I said do all paragraph tags. This one I'm saying only do it on that class. And you can tell it's a class because it has a period there. So it's saying class hobbies, but down in my HTML code, there is no class being called. So I need to call that. Maybe I call it on my div. So on my div, maybe here I call class hobbies, and now you'll see the changes take effect. Okay, so if you ever do a selector And if nothing's happening, most likely the selector's not selecting anything. Okay, we can keep going. Maybe instead of a class, I use what's called an ID. Classes and IDs are the two most common ways to select elements. But for classes, you can select that same element many times. For IDs, that element should be unique. So you have one ID, it should be unique across the whole page. So let's say here, I have one called code. And for code, I want to do the font family as monospace. And here in this paragraph tag, I'm talking about code. So I can make it look like code by calling this ID. Okay, now you'll see the font family changes to monospace. And it actually looks like I'm typing in a text editor for code. Okay, but these fonts are a little boring. Okay, these are basic fonts, and I want to put some fonts in there that nobody else has. So they have what's called CSS3 fonts, and we can make our own custom fonts. So if you open up, you already have a browser there. If you create a new tab here on the browser, and you search Google Fonts, and I click on Google Fonts here, these are what's called web fonts. Okay, so these are not the basic fonts that are available. They have a bunch of different fonts. You can scroll through, find one that you like. They also have a search bar. So I know a font that I like. It's called Permanent Marker. So I can search here, Permanent Marker. Okay, there it pops up over there on the side. When you find one that you like, you just click that little plus button up at the top. If you don't know which one you like, you can just randomly select one or select Permanent Marker. And you'll see a little pop-up there at the bottom of the screen. So I'll click on that pop-up, and Google's awesome. So they tell me exactly what I need to do. I need to put this link at the top of my code. When you find one you like, copy that link, put it above your style tag, and if you look at that link, it'll tell you which one, what you need to add as the font family. Okay, so it says I need to add my font family as Permanent Marker. So I need to apply that in one of my selectors. Okay, is everybody able to find the font? Copy the link. Okay, but I want to apply that. Let's say I want to apply that to a class called myFont. So every time I call class myFont, then that font will be applied. So I'll put font family as Permanent Marker, just like it tells me to. And let's say I put that here on my paragraph tag. I call that class, and I call it myFont. And now you'll see my name there is actually what's called a web font. Okay, it's a unique font that most browsers cannot load automatically. So it's our own custom font. Now when you get this to work, most likely you're going to want to put that everywhere on the page. Okay, because it looks nice. You want your page to be consistent. So you can either call it on a class, or you can create another selector. Say I want to select everything. Okay, any questions with this so far? Okay, but let's do something cool here. So we're just putting content, we're doing styles. Let's actually make an animation. Okay, so I put some picture in there for you called Viper. First thing we need to do is let everyone